I'm gonna say it was 1981, around there, 82. My brother, he was into punk rock, drugged me to the first Elk Center punk fest that Nancy Exploit did, and I couldn't even tell you the bands. Probably Sadistic Exploits and fucking other bands. And that was, I was like, because I was into graffiti at the time, and anything else that was insane for a kid who was 11 years old or 12 years old or however old I was. And I was like, you mean to tell me I can jump on the stage, run around like a hyperactive little kid, and jump on people's heads, and that's okay? Big bands. The first wave, Sadistic Exploits. Well, we're talking about. Are we talking punk and hardcore? We
talk about right there. Well, what you
scene?
see, even Pure Hell. Even you could throw them in there if you want.
Yeah, I actually used to live on top of the Hot Club where they used to play. I used to live 24th and South of the apartment house. But anyways, Executive Slack, Stickmen. I don't even think Ruin was around then. It was Sadistic Exploits. I want to say the Proteins, Why Die. Why Die was my favorite. Yeah. It wasn't that many at that time, and then after that we got into like bands like McRad and like all the guys from Skatecore. They had a house right up the street here where they all lived, Steve I and Boosh, and they put on shows, and Fat Howard. Yeah, I mean, it just progressed from there, but I think the first wave was Sadistic Exploits, Executive Slack, Stickmen. Yeah.
Autistic Behavior.
Autistic Behavior, one of my favorites, that's right. Informed Sources. At the time, they were excuse for me to jump on people's heads, to be honest with you. Why Die is the one that got me, because it was angry. And when I heard that shit, when I heard this fucking I was like, that's what I like. Where's that going? And then I heard Poison Idea. I was like, this is kind of more my shit than all like the, I don't know, the softer stuff. That was more up my alley. I loved Informed Source, Autistic Behavior, but Why Die is the one that like got me, started really getting me into the music end of it, yeah. All I know is we had bands like Ruin. I think they were the first hardcore band in Spin Magazine. They were doing something completely original. Thing is, those guys all had sounds, but that's also meant they were all doing the same fucking shit. You know? So, I mean, Informed Sources sound nothing like Autistic Behavior. Autistic Behavior sound nothing like Why Die. Why Die was the first band. It was like Why Die, Negative Approach, and Poison Idea. They were the only ones really bringing that whole metal thing in at the time. I mean, this was before Agnostic Front and all that shit. Like, Agnostic Front, I saw Why Die. I never heard of Agnostic Front or whoever was in New York at the time. Like, that was the first metal, hardcore crossover thing I've ever seen. And McRad were totally on some, whatever they were doing, not even ska, but whatever that dub shit they were doing. So everybody had their own sound, and it was what it was.
Tell us about what Ruin, and especially what they stood for and what they meant to Philly at that time.
They were a bunch of Buddhists. There was nothing like it at the time. These guys would all come out in these white robes, and the candles would be lit everywhere. They had a whole way they came out with it. It was very, like, dramatic, I guess the word is. They had stage presence, something different. Their music was fucking something different. They just were on some whole other thing. They were years ahead of their time. I play that shit for people nowadays. Like, who's this? I'm like, this is a band from like early '80s from Philadelphia. Like, what? Yeah.
So let's push. What clubs did you have back then too?
Well, we had the Elk Center. We had Ripley's, which was right here on South Street, and then turned into Tower Records. The Hot Club. There was a place at Broad and South. What the fuck was Grendel's Lair, I think it was called. Love Hall, BYO Hall, CEC Center, I think was my favorite. Everybody loved Love Hall, but I think CEC was my favorite. Or then we had Pie Lamb, which did really good if you drank beer. I didn't drink beer back then, but that was good because they had kegs all night, and I saw Raw Power there, COC there. But Iron Cross was one of my favorites, and they used to play CEC Center. See, I was always the little kid in the scene. I got in when I was probably like 11 or 12. There was this big skinhead. You've probably seen him in a lot of the videos. He was this tall skinhead in Philly. He was about 6'5", tall, skinny dude. They used to call him E.T. because he had a big neck and a big head. His name was David Winter. He used to look out for me. Him and his brother in New York. When I went to New York, his brother used to look out for me because I was a child, 11, 12, 13, going to shows by myself. So these guys used to all look out for me, and what the fuck was the question?
It was actually a two-part.
Oh yeah, Starlight.
You said you were at were you at the Dead Kennedys too?
I was at the Dead Kennedys store, so this was what happened.
All right, so I'd like you to go through both. So I think it was the 80s.
I was only at the Dead Kennedys one.
You weren't with the bomb? So that was with the bomb out the window?
What they were doing is they were putting nails in jars and attaching M80s to them and throwing them at us.
The Kens.
But what had happened, they started coming up the hallway. They got into the club. The cops weren't really doing shit. And the fucking riot was starting in the hallway, this long hallway coming in. So here's the stage, and there's a hallway next to it. You see the fucking war coming up. And so everybody, like some people, I forget who, they put me up in the fucking room upstairs, like the projector room. It used to be a projector room. They hid me up there. I came out so late. Was the subway stop running? I was out there by myself at 2 in the morning. That's all I know. And there was not a punk rocker in sight, just me by myself. And I was like a graffiti writer back then, so I kind of dealt with it. And then I think a cop actually drove me all at the time I was living at right across the street from Melrose Diner.
Okay, so but I mean, were you actually inside the show with the Dead Kennedys while that was happening?
Yeah.
So were you there for the bomb? The girl got her ankle blown up a little bit. Somebody drove by earlier and threw a bomb out the window.
All I know is they were throwing, like what I heard at the time, they were putting nails and shit in jars and attaching M80s to them. Those were the bombs that they were throwing at us. So, but like I said, I mean, everybody was this big, and I was like this big, a little skinny kid. Right. You know, if you see it, like, I showed somebody autistic behavior in this alley. If you ever saw that video, they shot an alley right. They shot a video in this alley right here. I'm like this fucking big, 11 years old, running around moshing in the pit. Any old Philly hardcore video, I'm easy to spot because I'm like a child in the damn thing. So
tell us about that.
Yeah, I mean, I started the label with Dare to Defy, my band. Actually, Starkweather, I signed them. We did the East Coast Assault. What Philly bands did we have on that? There wasn't many Philly bands at the time. The only hardcore bands from Philly were like us, Starkweather, that were like that type of shit. What was the other one? Stepping Razor. And there really wasn't a lot out here. I mean, there was that fucking Dead Spot, but they were like old metal guys. Yeah, that's about it.
So it was kind of suffering for a little while.
Yeah, I mean, we used to have shows at the YMCA, and the Ku Klux Klan would show up to them, like in fucking jumpsuits and shit. Like,
and what were they there for?
To start shit. And shit happened a lot back then. But yeah, there was like epileptic albino bullfrogs. Formula 43 was it? Was Formula 41, Formula 43, Rob the Joseph had a band. They were really fucking good. But they were like Dag Nasty-ish. Dare to Defy, me, Greg, Jim, Scott, and this guy Sean Judge, we started it. Actually started it when I moved out of Philly, when I was living in Westchester for a while. And then we started it. We did a couple 7-inches, one on Inner Rage. A friend of my brother's put out the other one, Steamroll Neo-Nazis. Then I put out the third one, which was Tales from the Drunk Side, and then we had a track, a Wide-Eye cover, Get Out, with Paul Bear from Sheer Terror sang on it, and Jerry A. from Poison Idea duetted on that track on our 7-inch, so that was pretty cool.
Wow, what year was this?
If you told me 87, I'd believe you. If you told me 94, I'd believe you. Fuck, I'm terrible with dates, man. I have no idea. I have no idea. Wait a minute. I think it was 43. I don't know. All I know was right around my 18th birthday, because I moved to St. Croix on my 18th birthday, and I left for like almost a year. And then I came back and we started the band up again.
Okay, let's go with the origin of Too Damn Hype.
I just started the label to put out the record. And then I was like, oh, I'll do this compilation because there's all these bands I like. So we had Life of Agony, Only Living Witness, Sam Black Church, Next Step Up, Marauder, Demise, Confusion. I'll put this on record. This was funny. When I put out that compilation, there was a lot of people said nasty shit. Oh, that label, they support all that tough guy bullshit that's ruining hardcore. One of the biggest voices in that was actually, I'm not trying to take a jab at him, but I find it really humorous that this actually, that he had a strong opinion about me putting out the New York hardcore stuff, was Tony Victory, about how it was, it was fucking up the scene, it wasn't the good music, and then he signed like Scarhead like 6 years later. I just thought it was like kind of comical, but we all change as we get older. So. Your thoughts change as you get older over the years. At first I thought it was awesome. Secondly, I was like, this sucks, especially when you're promoting the fucking shows. Because me and Jamie from Bad Luck, we used to do shows at Revival. We did a lot of shows there, and of course we didn't want it. But then when we weren't promoting the shows, it was all okay. We were fucking hypocrites. We're all hypocrites. Favorite was over here when Bad Luck was supposed to play TLA, and the cops said, no, you can't have this band play here. And the people said, well, if you don't let the band play, it's probably going to be worse. No fucking joke. Middle of the afternoon, Sunday, right? And I think some skinny, tall, redhead kid who's kind of big in the scene right now, I'm not going to say his name, but he has a crew, and I don't know, he has a real normal name, JH or something, I don't know. Anyways, I think him and me kind of kicked off the whole shit. All I know is all the windows start getting broken into TLA, Ishka Bibbles, and they're all shutting down the fucking gates. Cops did not show up on South Street till 20 minutes later. 20 fucking minutes on South Street, Sunday afternoon. Cops didn't show up till 20 minutes later. And all the windows on TLA were broke. Fucking bouncers were getting beat up. I remember another guy, one of the guys in Bad Luck, or hung with Bad Luck, stocky dude, names begin with a D, last name begins with an R. You know, so I don't want to say anybody's name. He knocked out the biggest bouncer in the TLA. Just cold cocked him, knocked him out cold. It was, yeah. I don't promote any of that shit now. I'm a good guy. But it was funny then.
What
I like Ruin. Ruin, I think, just the timing, how far ahead of everybody they were, how original they were, how it still stands the test of time today. And there's Wide Eye too, but I think Ruin were just complete originals from beginning to end. And every which way. They had weird personalities, they were goofy, and they were like, I could have seen them being really, really big. If they decided to ever go that route and write more shorter songs or some shit, I don't know.
Any Pennsylvania?
Starkweather would be a perfect example. Way, way fucking underrated. But that's probably Rennie's fault. She's so angry. Nobody would. No, I'm just kidding. Informed Sources were great back then. I think most of them, Wide Eye, Ruin, they were all fucking underrated. As far as later down the road, High Dick were underrated. I think they could have definitely, fucking done bigger shit if they didn't, have lives and jobs and responsibilities like the rest of the world. And they could have done that shit because they weren't children. There's another guy who used to go there. I don't know. I would always go see like Neurosis. And these were back in the days. I remember, I think it was after a Neurosis show. There was these two twin brothers. Again, I'm not going to say no names. Pretty known in the Philadelphia punk scene. And I think we got really fucked up. At a Neurosis show, we're going way back, at the Stalag, one of those places on Lancaster Boulevard. And I think it was why does everything happen 2 blocks from here? 2 blocks from here, there was a restaurant. It was like 2:30 in the morning. And we broke the windows to get all the liquor. And we got caught. I gave an alias, so I have no warrant from that. But yeah, we got caught in the act stealing liquor out of a restaurant. We broke the window. I think we were tripping on acid. Because I did acid like 3 times in my life. And I think that might have been one of the times. That was entertaining. But yeah, that scene, that's when I think I was drinking a lot. I really liked drinking beer a lot, because it's all West Philly Brew Crew thing and all that. And I was a lot younger. And I liked it for that aspect. But I just didn't like the dirty, smelly people.
In your head, you want to go for it.
Jackal's one of my favorite people. Neil from Wide Eye. I don't know, man. I shouldn't even get into it because I'm going to forget people. I'm going to get upset. Nancy Exploit. She really kicked off a lot of shit. First female promoter in the city. What happened to Zeke? I don't know. Chuck Treese. I can't forget Chuck. Yeah, I know he's doing hip hop and all that crap now, but he was a huge part back then. Who else deserves recognition? God, there's so many people. Jamie Davis. He did a lot of shit. Me and him promoted a lot of shows, but he never toots his own horn. Who else? I mean, Joe. He's on the front page of everything now, so I don't have to mention that guy. He's running shit here now, I guess. I guess that's it.
All right, brother.